Oh, cool. 2024 Wrangler's out. Let's see what's new. Wait. What? I hate external antennas. You gotta be kidding me. Well, let's figure out how to do it on a pre-2024 Wrangler. Let's get rid of that external antenna and make this thing look a little bit better on the outside. Okay, so the first thing I tried out in my quest for eliminating the antenna off that thing was this. This is an Amazon shark fin antenna. It's designed to bolt to an antenna base. However, I can't really move the antenna base on the Wrangler. It's either on or it's off. So that was a failure. So let me show you what I tried next. Okay, so since that first one didn't work, the way that works is it actually has like a little circuit board inside that just hooks up to the antenna mast. And as I said, couldn't really use that. Next thing I tried was an OE Grand Cherokee shark fin. This did not work either. Couldn't figure out why. So I moved on to this little guy here, which is a Blaupunkt antenna, which is designed to stick on a windshield with these two little copper wires that are also designed to stick on a windshield. However, what I did was I took the circuit board that just held all that copper on the shark fin antenna and hooked that up. Now, this is an amplified antenna. As you can see, I have some duct tape here, so you can see there's a wire here with a positive and negative on there. This braided cable here is the ground. When I hooked this up, amplified, it worked. Great success. But this isn't really designed to be hidden well. So I decided, hey, the reason why this worked is because it's amplified. So I went on Amazon, my favorite source for parts, and I bought an amplifier, which is this guy right here. And as you can see, I have it wired up to my cigarette lighter. And if you notice, there's another thing hanging there. That little custom auto sound MFG thing. That is an antenna. And it's also amplified. So I got an adapter for it, which you can see hanging down there. And I'm going to try this first. If this does not work, then I'm going to take this antenna amplifier and plug it into the shark fin and see if that works. If not, I'll go back to the Blaupunkt. But I figured for the $22 risk, I would just kind of go for this. If this works, I can't really return the Blaupunkt, which was expensive. But, you know, I'd be happy if I could just use this little box here as an antenna and hide it under the dash so that I can get rid of the antenna on the outside that drives me insane. So I'm going to go take the car apart, which requires a plastic pry tool and a bunch of 7mm, and go try this yet again. If you want to watch how the dash comes apart, watch my earlier video where I swapped out the panels for red. And the only difference is when you go for the antenna, you take out the 4 screws that hold in the actual 8.4-inch screen, and the white plug is your FM AM antenna. So let me go grab some tools and start taking this apart. Okay, so even with the amplifier powered up and plugging into the shark fin just simply does not want to work with this radio, unfortunately. Right now I have the radio down for copyright reasons. I'll just turn it up for a sec so you can see it works. Now, if I unplug this, and I'll do this so you can see, if I unplug this, you're going to see this suddenly goes to buffering. See? Just went to buffering. Won't pick up a station. But if I power this back on, you can see there's a little green light there. Suddenly, we're back to HD radio. That's my big telltale sign to see if the radio reception is good. However, And right now I have this little guy plugged in just to clarify with the antenna amplifier. Even without the antenna amplifier, it actually works pretty well. However, if I go over to AM, turn it up so you can hear. Doesn't get reception at all. Now, I will tell you, this guy, the Blaupunkt, does. So I think I'm going to go with this simply because it gets... Ooh, I got reception on 770. I think I'm going to go with this Blaupunkt just to eliminate all this other garbage. By the way, if you're wondering the reason why I have this plugged into a cigarette lighter right now, is because this is the best way to just test. I'll eventually end up wiring it to this outlet once everything's all done, but I did this just to power it up and see how it worked. It doesn't work well. Unfortunately, the shark fin doesn't work. This works great on FM with the amplifier, but on AM it's no good. So I kind of want something a little bit more OEM. I'm going to try this real quick with the amplifier plugged in and see if it actually does work. Okay, so this does not work unless it gets power and ground. No surprise, I'm not really sweating that. So I will be giving this power and ground in order for it to work. As you can see, still buffering here. I have the little circuit board from the shark fin from Amazon, but I'm gonna wire this in without the amplifier that I just bought for 20 bucks. And once this is wired in, as long as it picks up AM okay, I'm gonna tuck this thing in the dash behind this screen here, and all will be right with the world. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I have the truck apart again. I have my Blaupunkt antenna over here. I have the little internal from the shark fin that you can kind of see over on the Fiat there. Have that hooked up so that we don't have to run any sort of extra antenna. I have a connector on the positive here, and then I'm not sure if I have to hook up a ground wire, but I did anyway. You know, there was a ground strap on the Blaupunkt, so I'm just going to assume that I have to do it just for RF. So I have this extra wire that I soldered onto the little ground strap there on the Blaupunkt, and that I will hook up to negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to wire it to this cigarette lighter outlet, or 12-volt lighter outlet for those of you that don't remember cigarette lighters in cars. Super easy to access this. You take out this 1/7 mil here and then pull this back. So I'm going to do that right now. Okay, now that I've yanked this back slightly, you actually could take this out completely if you want, but if you notice there's a connector right on the back of the cigarette lighter. You're going to unplug that, and we're going to tap into that. Okay, so I have this wire out. I already put a T-tap on the black. The pink wire with the yellow stripe, that is your positive. This is key on positive. As you can see, Jeep puts a little key on there, and I did test it just to make sure. But your pink with yellow is your positive. This orange one, I believe, is the illumination for the cigarette lighter. As you can see, there's a couple little LEDs in there. So I think that's what that's for. So I'm going to put a T-tap on here, hook everything up, and then plug it into the back of the radio. Okay, so as you can see, I plugged the start button and climate control back in just to test real quick. My antenna lights up. There's actually a little switch that I will show you once I turn this all off that turns the LED off, which I would say you should probably do so that you don't have to look at a blue LED making its way through the cracks and crevices of your dashboard. Okay, so there's a little switch right here on top, right where the antenna wire hooks in. You just flip that to off, and then this won't light up anymore. Now that we're done with the wiring section, that we got positive and negative hooked up, which we did need, now we have to plug in this into that. And one other thing I do want to mention is that you have to get an adapter. So this is called FAKRA, I think. F-A-K-R-A. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But you get a female regular antenna to that, which I believe is a male cable. There's actually, I'll leave a link in the description. There's just a bag that comes with all the necessary adapters. You only need this one out of it, but, you know, it's just easier to buy them all, and it's not expensive. So, next up, I got to take this radio out and then show you where to plug this thing in. Alright, so we have the radio out. I am holding this radio with a microfiber, not because I'm worried about damage, but because this radio is very hot. It's like 85, 90 out here right now, so yeah, you don't need to use a microfiber to hold it. It's just that the radio is very hot. Anyway, the connector for the AM/FM antenna is this white one right here. So you need to unplug that and then plug your antenna into that. So let me do that. Since I don't have a free hand, I got to put you guys down. Okay, now that the radio is plugged in, I actually did realize this microfiber is very handy because I can let this rest against the bottom of the dash and not worry about it scratching because there's a microfiber in between. Anyway, we now have this whole contraption here, which if you can see running down all the way through here, that connects to the radio. So what we need to do is mount this. Now, you kind of want to mount this up on the bottom of the dash somewhere over here so that it gets a relatively clear view. And this you can kind of mount anywhere, doesn't really matter. I'm going to use some double-sided tape just to mount both of these, which I have right here. And I have some, I don't know if you can see it, yep. I have some denatured alcohol and a paper towel just to wipe down the areas so that we get better adhesion when we stick these in here. So let me do that, and then I will get back to you guys. Okay, so mounted the base there, and then, I don't know if you can see it. Sorry, there's a lot of sunlight. There we go. You see this little, you'll see it right up there. The little thing that's hanging down a hair. Sorry if I'm about to make you guys a little sick. That little guy right there. That is the antenna. So, now I have a bunch of wire right here. Gonna zip tie that up, stuff it back there, and then test it out. Okay, I got the wires just zip tied up and tucked them back there so they wouldn't move around too much. And now it's time to put the radio back in. I already tested this and made sure that it would fit flush with it in. You might have to move around your wiring or connectors a little bit just to get it to fit flush. But let me bolt the radio in, plug everything in, and I'll show you it working. Okay, well, as you can see, I normally listen to Sirius. However, let's switch over to Bluetooth. I mean, FM. Alright, well, obviously I can't have the sound up because I'll get hit with a copyright infringement. But you can see that I'm clearly tuning into HD radio. And if I do that, it goes right to HT radio. Goes right between HD radio 2 and 3. If we go to 97.1, again, I have HD2 saved. You can see it's buffering for a minute because this isn't going to be as strong as the normal full-length antenna, but it'll be strong enough. There we go. We got regular radio, and I'm waiting for the HD to kick in here. Now, I might have to move the little antenna and see if I can get a little bit better location. That might be what's doing this for me, but this is why I put it together and test before fully putting in the bezel. Come on. Okay, so I had to play around with mounting a little bit. I ended up putting the board back over here. If you wanted to get really crazy, you could extend that wire and mount it like in one of these things over here, or run it all the way up to the top there. But this seems to work pretty good for me for now. And as I said, I mostly listen to Sirius or Bluetooth audio, so I just want the FM in case I need FM or AM. It seems to work well there. I'm gonna put the radio back in now for the last time. Fingers crossed. Okay, so now that the antenna is internalized, we now have to get rid of this vestigial antenna. And we're gonna do this in a way that is reversible. First thing you need to do is you need to run some yellow masking tape or any other color of masking tape around this plastic thing right here, because it's very easy to scratch the paint. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take this antenna off, which, depending on what kind of antenna you have, maybe requires tools, maybe doesn't. So let's do that. Okay, now that you've taped up a nice little ring around your antenna, now comes the hardest part, which is getting this plastic piece off. What I like to do is I kind of push down here, which gives me a little gap up there, and then I use a series of plastic pry tools to work my way around it. Now, chances are you are going to break this plastic cap. They're cheap from the dealer, under 20 bucks. So if you're the type of person that wants to have it to go back to stock, just order one from the dealer. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to do this off camera because this job sucks to do. And yeah, I'll show you what it looks like after. All right, all done. Well, as you can see, it already fell off. I don't know if you can see, but the tabs on either side break. That's just, as I said, that just seems to be what happens with these. I've done it once before. What I ended up doing was, once I had it open enough where I could get a pry tool in here, then I used the second one over here that was a little bit stiffer and popped it right off. Now that that's off, we can lose the tape because we're not going to need that for protection anymore. And we need to take this guy out, which I believe is in 3 8mm. It might be 3 10mm. Let me go check. I guess it's an 8mm. And let's just loosen up this third one here. I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to do this two-handed because this is probably brutally hot because it's been sitting in 90-something degree heat. And I'll show you the plug behind it. Okay, now that you've taken your 3 8mm out, you kind of pick this up, there is a little antenna plug back here, and you just release it. Now, it might not want to come out because you're trying to do it one-handed while filming, like my dumb self. So I'm going to have to put you guys down, but rest assured, this comes unplugged of this, and then we remove this. The next step is we're going to protect this so that if you ever decide to put the antenna mast in, whether you want more FM reception or something, you have it available to you. So let me tear this bad boy apart. Okay, now that we have this little exposed wire here, now in case you ever do want to go back in the future, what I like to do is I'm going to put a piece of heat shrink on there with glue in it, and I'm going to heat shrink that on to seal it up so that no corrosion gets in there. Then I'm going to wrap the rest of this in electrical tape just to make triple sure that there is nothing in there. So I'm going to do this right now. Okay, so as I said, I used the heat shrink with glue in it, so you can see I pinched this shut so that no water got in, and I wrapped up the rest in electrical tape, so this is a nice watertight seal. Now that that's done, stick that in there. You can fish it out if you ever need to in the future, but it's in there. And your antenna delete is done. Oh wait, there's a big hole in the fender. Let me show you what we do with that. Well, folks, the solution lies in this bag right here. What am I talking about? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. The new trail rated badge, which goes perfectly over the holes. Now there is an alignment peg on the back. As you can see, that's supposed to, I don't know. It's supposed to line up on the other side. I guess there's a hole on the other side that this goes into. We don't have that on here, so just do your best to eyeball it. If you want to go crazy leveling it out and whatnot, I totally get it. But that is the solution right there, and then you no longer have a hole in your fender. So let me line this up and stick it on. Well, there you go. I now no longer have an external antenna on my Wrangler. Now, if I did a 2024 grill, a lot of people would not know that this was a 2022. To me, I don't really care. The grill for me is an indifferent subject. Looks fine. Wouldn't be something that I would spend my money on. But the lack of an antenna certainly is, and I have a feeling that's how Jeep does it
on the 2024 models, they just stick a trail rated badge over it, especially since it's got a little nub on the back that needs to go through a hole anyway. Why change a whole fender, right?
Anyway, hope that was really helpful for you guys and gals. Yeah, so stay tuned for future little mods to the Jeep and other cars that I have, and thanks for watching.